So let's go over the Thimble Toolkit. Starting on the left, we have a soldering iron, which is used to melt solder wire, in this case, lead-free. To hold both these things in place while you're doing your project, we have a stand that you can assemble. We also include 3 colors of wire: red, black, and white. And along with wire strippers, which help you take the insulation off the wires so you can better use them. To clean up your project and make sure everything's nice, right angle cutters, a hot glue gun with 2 glue sticks, and sometimes when you do your project you add too much solder, so we have 2 tools to help you out with that: solder wick and a solder sucker. And speaking of tools, a multimeter, which allows you to test voltage and amperage and resistance and continuity in your project, and a small screwdriver set. Let's open up the toolkit and take out all the parts we need for the soldering iron stand. First is the soldering iron holder. Then is this piece that looks like the letter M. We can take out the bag of 6 bolts. We're also going to take the sponge that's used only when wet to clean the soldering iron. And then we're going to take out the base of the stand. So now that we have our parts out, let's organize them and assemble the stand. So for our first step, let's take the bag of bolts, open it up, and there should be 6 of them. So let's just dump them out and put them right there. So now we can take the soldering iron stand, thread one of the bolts, and start screwing it towards the top. You don't want to screw it all the way past the threads, you want to do it just about there so there's still some threads above it. Next we can take the M piece, and it has 2 threads, and we can do the same thing we did on the soldering iron holder. Again, you don't want to go all the way past the threads, just like that is fine. Looks good. So now we can take the base, and I'll show you the orientation for how the parts go in. Just like that. And we can slot them through. And flip the base to the other side. So now you can see where those threads are sticking through, and we'll start with the soldering iron holder. And it's just like the same thing you did before. You just want to thread the bolt down. And then I'm turning it on its side to make sure that both those bolts are tight and flush with the base, because you don't want this thing moving around while you're using your soldering iron. So if you have a wrench or a pair of pliers, that would be good too. I'm just hand tightening it. But, yep, looks good enough. And we're just going to do the same thing with the other 2 threads that go through the base. You want to hand tighten them. You want to tighten them so that they're flush, and we'll do the last side. Make sure that's nice and tight. And we'll just do one last test. Yep. Alright, they both look tight. And we'll put the sponge right there. And that's the solder stand.